So, welcome back. So one of the second priority of the Penn State's strategic plan that we'll look at in this room today is stewarding our planet's resources. Here's the statement within the plan. The aims of research at Penn State is to become a leader in creating comprehensive solutions to mitigate the dangers of climate change and address the challenges of providing safe and abundant water, clean and renewable energy, and plentiful and nutritious foods. So we have 4 presentations for this section. And first off, I'm happy to say we have another Evan Pugh professor with us, Dr. Richard Alley, professor in the Department of Geosciences, who many of you probably know from the PBS series Earth, the Operator's Manual, or perhaps from his massive online open course on energy and the environment. He has written more than 225 scientific publications and has been recognized with all kinds of different awards, both for teaching, research, and service. And he is a member of the U.S. National Academy of Sciences, and I'm just thrilled that he had the time to come join us this morning. So, this afternoon at this point, I guess. Take it away, Richard. Oh, I have to introduce our others too. I forgot. Sorry. Come on up anyway, Richard. So we're going to just roll in. So after Richard will be David Hughes. David's an assistant professor of entomology and biology. Some people know him as the zombie ant guy. He runs the Hughes Lab, part of the Center for Infectious Disease Dynamics, looks at the intersection between disease and behavior. His research on insects led him into the rainforests around the world, where he has seen escalating destruction of these habitats, much of it necessary for food production. And today he's going to talk about global food security. And then after David, we'll have Carolee Bull. She's a department head and professor of plant pathology and systematic bacteriology, and she's also our current director of the new Microbiome Center at Penn State. The Bull Lab team works to develop management strategies for bacterial diseases of plants and cultivated mushrooms, and she has received numerous awards for teaching and outreach, including USDA Secretary's Honor Award for Outreach, Diversity, and Equal Opportunity. And then our final speaker in this portion will be Ileana Balmes. She's Associate Professor of Biology, as well as a Director for the Center for Marine Science and Technology at Penn State. And her lab research focuses on ecology, evolutionary processes that shape populations of reef-building corals. She's been a Humboldt Fellow at the Max Planck Institute for Marine Microbiology and has served on a U.S. task force that created regulations and management plans for the only 2 reef-building corals listed under the U.S. Endangered Species Act. Okay, great. We have a great lineup, as you guys can see. Okay, Richard, come on up. Sorry about that. Thank you.
Oh, dear. Boy, is this going to be fun. You are in for a treat. You've got some fantastic talks to follow me. I hope I can make it worth your while for coming out. So thank you. And thank you, Dr. Sharkey. This is great. I do ice. I love cold places. So there's an iceberg and there's a penguin. And thank you for coming out today. What I'm going to walk through very briefly in 10 minutes, I'm going to plug science. I'm going to just follow on what Dr. Sharkey has said a little bit on just how important science is. Then I'll say a few words about energy, and I'll wave at the good things that are going on here. So that's where we're going to go for all said and done. When I was a student, I don't think I'd ever believed that I would ever have to tell anybody this. And I don't think I have to tell anybody in this room this. I think you all know it, but I think we need to do a better job of reminding people of some things. Researchers discovered miracle drugs that saved Grandpa and Grandma, and those miracle drugs do not now work. They're worthless because the bacteria have evolved. And we have a lot of neighbors who really don't like evolution or they don't believe in evolution. But the bacteria are evolving. And if we don't have a lot of bright people, we'll lose. And losing means you die. And medicine works. And when Boeing builds a new airplane, they do not build lots of different things and see which ones fly and which ones fall out of the air. They use a computer model. People make fun of computer models. They use a computer model to design a plane that flies the first time, and it's more efficient and better airworthiness than anything that's ever happened before. And you know, a cell phone, what is a cell phone? It's a little sand. It's a little oil. It's the right rocks, the ones with the rare earth elements and the gold and the copper and what have you. So I'm going to I took a picture of my cell phone. I'll give it to my penguin there. And remember this. There's a very nice lady in my cell phone. When there's a traffic jam down in Philadelphia, when I'm down giving a talk, she tells me how to get around the traffic jam. She knows where I am because the GPS has relativity in it. And the GPS uses general and special relativity. And there's a computer in there that uses quantum mechanics. When I was a student, relativity and quantum mechanics were the most bizarre, abstruse physics you could imagine. They're in your pocket working for you every day. And, you know, the GPS, what is it? When I first met GPS, my advisor was surveying the motion of Antarctic ice streams. And he had to bring the data home and undither them because where you were was a military secret because GPS is an Air Force project. And the first time I ever logged onto the internet, it was the ARPANET, the Defense Advanced Research Projects Agency. Right? This is a fantastic triumph of free enterprise, getting something in my pocket that works really well with a nice lady to tell me where to go. But it is resting on a backbone of public research. And it wouldn't be here without them. And so this is science writ large. It's very important, but we do. Be perfectly honest. We have elected officials who will pull out their cell phone and tweet on it that scientists don't know what they're talking about. Okay? Now, energy. I didn't get down to get lunch yet, but if you got your lunch, I don't know how you did. A human diet is usually taken as something like 2,000 calories per person per day. We burn that food in us. We make energy. The average day and night of what's coming out of me or coming out of you is 100 watts. All the brilliance that you do is about as much energy as that light bulb. And you do so much more than that light bulb does. But we don't have to ride a bicycle to make electricity to make the light bulb work, because something's taken care of that. And I did not spend last summer hoeing corn so I wouldn't starve this winter. There was a tractor, and the tractor burned diesel. And if you take all the energy that is used in the U.S. economy for us, you can see the number here. You're 100 watts, it's more than 10,000. You're 2,000 calories per day, it's more than 200,000. And right now, that's almost all fossil fuel. It's about 83% fossil fuel, okay? But this is great. We love it. Don't kid anybody, but we've got to change. The fossil fuels accumulated over a few 100 million years. We are burning them over a few 100 years. We're already through the easy ones. The rate at which new ones are being formed is essentially zero. There is no possibility that you can choose between fossil fuels and renewables. We either burn and then we learn, or we learn while we burn, because they will end. And this is not an if, it's a when. But if we burn and then learn, we have very high confidence that life is going to be a lot harder because we'll have changed the climate, because we're making CO2. Now, you don't see the CO2, but I want to do a comparison. You know what trash looks like. You've taken the trash out. You have been behind the trash truck trying to get to work. In the United States, per person per year, we throw away at the curb household trash a half a ton. Right? I weigh 150 pounds, but I throw away 1,000 pounds of trash. But my share of the CO2 is 19 tons. Each of us, a half a ton of trash, you know what that looks like. The 19 tons you can't see, but it's there, it's real. And it will change the climate. And this is physics we knew before Einstein. It is physics we knew before Feynman and Bohr and Heisenberg and so on. The first serious scientific estimate of the warming from fossil fuel CO2 is 1896 by a Swedish chemist named Arrhenius, who won the Nobel Prize. If you ever run into someone who says, oh, global warming was invented by the Chinese to destroy the American economy, if they planted Arrhenius in 1896 in Sweden, my hat is off. Okay. Putting it into a modern quantum mechanical framework was done by the Air Force because they were worried about sensors on heat-seeking missiles, and CO2 blocks the view of the target just as it blocks the heat leaving the Earth. This is physics. It has to warm. Okay, now there really are uncertainties. If you came and took the class, if you did some other things with us, we'd walk you through sort of if everything breaks our way, if we get the best possible future on climate change, it's still economically favorable to deal with it rather than ignoring it. If the worst happens, by the time our students are old, we start to make places on the Earth so hot that you can't go outside your air conditioning because you'll die. It's like being locked in a car on a hot summer day without air conditioning. You don't leave your little dog in there, they'll die. We can make the world hot enough that we die. And we're expecting 3 feet of sea level rise by the time our students are old if we don't change our energy system. Could be 2, could be 4, could be 15 or 20. What's the worst case? It's really... Our military leaders already traced the dotted line that leads from climate change to drought to civil war in Syria. We'll make more. But suppose we use our knowledge. Suppose we say science works, we're going to use this. What do we get? Okay, we can make everybody in the world energy rich. It's fantastic. It's absolutely fantastic. 2,000 calories per day, where does it come from? Orange is our crops, yellow is our grazing lands. Everything in color on that plot has been changed to feed us. Suppose we got solar cells on our house last month. Suppose that we started putting solar cells out and we were going to generate all the energy that all humans use plus a bunch extra. It would take an area that big. This is shovel ready. This is what you buy. You're not going to do it there. You're going to put it over the parking lot out here and plug your car into it. But that much would power all of humanity with a lot of growth. Okay, now this is a big task, don't kid me. So we did these films and we talked to these Texas ranchers. They've put 5% of the ranch into wind. They got 95% of the ranch in cattle. The wind pays better. They call it mailbox money. You go to the mailbox, there's money in it. $5,000 per turbine per year. If we built a wind farm on the windy parts of the plains and deserts of the world, that is 5 times human energy use. Okay? If you come take the class, you work through us, you see what's going on here at Penn State. If we use our knowledge, we get a bigger economy with more jobs, as well as greater national security in a cleaner environment, more consistent with the golden rule, and we can still have icebergs as well as rainbows. Thank you.